Don't you just love music? I'm absolutely crazy about music, and I'm thinking that so many of you are too, because it really, really inspires us, and it causes us to think and feel in ways that we might not otherwise do. And anyway, I wanted to tell you about this song, this great song by a group called Unspoken. This song is called Start a Fire. And I want you to hear these lyrics because it's all about the power of zeal, that inner drive we have, one of our 12 powers, to really move forward with excitement, with passion and aliveness. So listen to these words. Over and over again, I hear your voice in my head. Let your light shine. Let your light shine. Let your light shine for all to see. Oh, start a fire in my soul and fan the flame, make it grow. So there's no doubt, no denying. Let it burn so brightly that everyone around can see that it's you that we need, that starts a fire in me. Those words are really meaningful when we think about the power of zeal. And some of us don't relate to zeal because we think it's an outward expression of somebody having high energy and somebody who's very excitable, but really, zeal is one of our 12 powers, and it's that inner fire that lives and expresses in all of us. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, tells us that it is that upward propelling energy, that movement that moves us into achievement or action. It's that forward motion that we use for good. And so the power of zeal, when used spiritually, can be used to uplift ourselves, to bring us joy, to bring us aliveness. And certainly, we could use a little bit of that today, couldn't we? I mean, really, think about our world. And when I think about it, my heart just breaks when I think about the trauma, the real trauma of gun violence and the ugliness of hatred and racial injustice, prejudice. When I worry about the state of affairs in our economy and what's going on with that, or as we all know, what our worries are about this coronavirus. I mean, there's so many things that are real heavy in our hearts today. And then add your own personal concerns or challenges. And we all have them in our own ways. And so when we think about the power of zeal, we not only do we look at uplifting our souls and our spirits and moving into that high energy and vitality, but we're not looking to escape the challenges that we know. We're not looking to pretend that they don't exist because they are a part of our experience. But what we are doing is we are opening up a capacity to live from the wholeness and the fullness of our being. No matter what we experience, no matter what we're going through, whether it's individual or whether it's collective, the power of zeal lives within each and every one of us. It is that forward propelling motion, that energy of aliveness and joy and passion. And I think it has healing capacities when we draw it forward in times that are hard or in times that are challenging. And so I was thinking about how we might all ignite that inner fire, how we might come alive in our zeal. And two things came to me. The first is that we are called to really appreciate the ways that we live our zeal, because each of us lives it in our own unique way. We all have ways that we come alive, and what draws you alive might be the power of poetry, and what draws you alive might be music, or somebody else, it might be social action, or another person, it will be love of family. But whatever it is, we all can join in that feeling of where we feel really full, where we feel really open and centered and joyful and grateful in our beings. And we just get so excited whenever we are in and about that thing. And so when we take the time to really appreciate where we come alive in our zeal, that opens the door to the next step. And that next step is all about identifying our personal core values and then bringing them out even more fully. So let me go ahead and begin with that first step, which is about appreciating and celebrating the ways our zeal is already present. And somebody comes to mind that I don't usually think of, but for some reason, he really came to me, and that is Thelonious Monk, the great jazz legend. And I think about this wonderful man who really opened up and transformed the way jazz was heard and experienced in his day. And you know, he was 6 years old, and he heard his older sister playing piano. She was getting piano lessons, and he was just enthralled by the piano. And so he started to play himself. And by the time he was 13, he was going out to all of these places that had talent contests, and he was banned from joining any talent contests because he'd win them all. So that tells me how great he was as a pianist, even in his early years. And then later on, because his talents were so accelerated, he played with all the jazz greats. He was known to back up all of the jazz legends, but then he did something unique. He started to listen to that inner fire within himself, and he started to not play to support other musicians and other talented artists, but he started to play for himself. And as he did, he moved into his greatness, and he brought forward music that had never been heard or imagined before. And one of the things that Thelonious Monk said is this. He said, "Don't worry about what other people think you should play or what other people think you should do." He said, "Just be you. Play your music." And then he added, "And if it takes people 15, 20, 25 years to catch up with you, so be it." And you know, I love that, because what he was saying is, ignite that fire within you in your unique way. Listen to how Spirit directs you to bring it forward. And then do that. How often do we have a gift or a talent or a passion? And how often do we hold back because we worry about what other people think? Or we worry, will the world appreciate us? Or we worry that it's not good enough. Well, Thelonious Monk is saying, listen to that spirit inside. Let that creativity come out of you and express it. Just be you. And I find that that message is really profound for all of us, no matter where we are in life. And so when I think about that, I'm also drawn to another example. And this is a woman that many of you may have already known as well. Her name is Dolores Huerta. She was a Latina civil rights activist, a labor activist that really came alive to her own inner calling when she was pretty young. You see, she started out at a time when there was a lot of prejudice and bias against women, and certainly against people of Hispanic origins and heritage. But she followed that voice inside, and she decided that she wanted to be a teacher and help children. But there she was. She had been teaching for only a couple months, and she noticed that the kids that were coming into her classroom were barefoot, and they were hungry, and they didn't have the resources that they needed to learn and to focus and to grow. And she said, I don't think this is where I need to put my energies. I think I would be more useful working to support migrant farm workers and support them to get a decent wage and to be seen and heard. And I will do more to make change in that way than to try to teach hungry children. Well, she followed that vision, that inner momentum within her, and she aligned with Cesar Chavez, and together they did a phenomenal work in the 1960s and beyond that to really make a difference, a profound difference for migrant farm workers. And I understand that even at 92 today, she continues on with her passion and her good work. And so I think for all of us to take a moment to really appreciate what has aliveness for us, where is the goodness of who we are called to make the world better, to express ourselves, whether it's artistically, whether it's musically, whether it's with a skill or a talent, or whether it's to change the world. But whatever it is, we're called to really celebrate and to really appreciate what we do and to do it to the best, to the very best of our ability. And that's activating and igniting that fire of zeal within. So that's the first step. That's the step I'd like you to start with now. But here's the second step, and that is to really identify and cultivate your own personal core values. Now, you might be saying, what do you mean? What is that? What's a personal core value? And I believe that it is the beliefs that you have that really align with your mind and your heart, combined with the way that you live your life. When you put those things together, you're going to see and know what your real personal core values are. You're going to see how you show up in the world and what draws your attention and what calls you forward in both your mind and your heart. And sometimes we identify our personal core values real early in life. Like sometimes you can know real on that you maybe had a moving experience or a transformative time that forever opened you up in a certain way. When I was 15, I volunteered on a crisis hotline. Now, I have no idea why anyone would let a 15-year-old girl volunteer on a crisis hotline. But for some reason, the people involved in this organization let me do it. And I was, of course, the youngest volunteer. But I was so drawn to what my personal core value is, which is to bring healing, compassion, and transformation to others. And so it started back then, and then after that, I started working in chemical dependency treatment centers. I devoted my life to mental health, the treatment of mental health. I became a psychotherapist. I worked on psychiatric units. And when I became a minister 13 years ago, of course, that work to bring healing, compassion, and transformation to others continues on. So I can see how my personal core value has been pervasive in my life. But here's another thing about personal core values. They can also change according to your own personal evolution or according to circumstance. And it was, I think it was about 3 years ago when I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, which was a pretty intense diagnosis to receive. All of a sudden, mortality was kind of right in front of me. And at that time, I made a decision, a very conscious one. I decided that I wanted to live intentionally. And so I came up with 3 personal core values. And the first one was to live from faith, joy, and grace everywhere. So I trained my eyes and my heart and my mind to always be on the lookout and always be attuned to faith, to joy, and grace. And then the second personal core value I developed was to live fully in the present moment. And so I stopped worrying about why couldn't I live like yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow and how long am I going to live. And I started really slowing down my mind and my body to be attuned to what was happening in that present moment. And it kept evolving and changing. It opened me up to wonder and peace and delight in ways that I had never really experienced except for very transient times. My third personal core value was to love everyone. I mean it. Love everyone and everything. Now you can imagine, for most of us, we can say, oh, I love everyone, and we mean it rather glibly, or we say, but then there's this person, or this thing, or that thing. But I made a commitment to open my heart, to love everyone, and to love everything that was happening to me and through me. Truly, truly transformative. And so I paid attention to my personal core values at that time, and I will tell you that because of them, the overarching personal core value of being a presence for healing, compassion, and transformation got magnified. And I believe that what happened to me can happen to all of us. I don't think I'm so incredibly exceptional or anything like that, but I think the very same things can apply to all of us. And so in closing today, what I'd like to do is invite you to 3 different opportunities. First of all, I'd really like you to pay attention and appreciate what your passions have been, what your vocations have been, where you have felt tremendous joy, aliveness, and energy, and really notice what those things are. Really pay attention, and you can write about them and journal them to explore them more fully, or you can talk to a friend about what you're discovering as you take time to reflect on those very things. And then the second thing that I would like you to do is to really pay attention to what your personal core values are. What are the things that you believe that make you come alive? And how do you spend your life expressing those very things? What do you want to be known by when you are thought of? And when you think about yourself, how do you want to be known? Those are your personal core values. And then take those personal core values, maybe you end up with 3 or 4, and then take the last big step. Turn within. Take some time that's quiet and reflective, and listen for that inner voice, that voice of spirit that lives within you or guides you in some way, and listen to how you can cultivate that inner fire and ignite it so that you are in alignment with what you think, with what you feel, and with what you do, and you go forward through the power of Zeal as never before. When you do that, you will truly come alive in spirit, and it will be a blessing in your life. It will affect the people around you that love you and appreciate you, and energetically, your zeal, the way you ignite your fire, it will bless the world, and that is worth doing. Thank you so much for being with me in this way. I enjoy being with you, and I'm imagining that I'm giving you all a big old hug right now. I see you blessed, and I know you're going to go forward, like I will, to continue to ignite that inner fire. Thank you again, and namaste.